welcome this new year, gathering in our hopes and dreams, what's unfolding and becoming here on this beautiful campus, as we get to decide who and how we are going to be in community, a choice we make every day as we explore the way ideas and actions join passion and compassion to empower the best for all of us, giving us the opportunity to grow beyond our limitations into places of deeper respect for ourselves and each other in our living and learning. And in this moment, we pause to reflect, saying hello as we greet the new year, as we embrace the invitation to call in the words, wisdom teachings, sacred sounds, and the presence of people that may help ground, support, and sustain us. As we welcome what is possible, as together we open to what is possible, and ask all that we hold as sacred to bless us on this first day of the new year. Amen.
Please be seated, everyone. Good morning. I can't hear you back there. Good morning. I'm so thrilled to be here with all of you on this spectacular morning, which I think is a good omen as we begin this incredible year together. I am so honored to be here with you today as Colorado College's new president. I'm Song Richardson, and I'm delighted to welcome all of you to opening Convocation, which is the official beginning of our 148th academic year. Now, opening Convocation always marks a fresh start. And this one is particularly meaningful because we are finally able to gather together in person as a community. So I want to give a warm welcome to all of our new students, staff, and faculty, and a warm welcome to all of our returning students, staff, and faculty, so many of whom were not able to live, teach, or work on campus last year because of the pandemic. So today is a new chapter for all of us, and I'm thrilled to begin this year as your new president. I would like to thank every person who is here today and importantly, every single person that you see scattered throughout, and those you don't see scattered throughout, who helped us put this event together. So can we please thank all of the staff, faculty, students who helped bring us together this morning. And I also want to acknowledge the Ute people and all indigenous nations and the ancestral lands, Mother Earth, on which we sit and stand. As members of our community, I ask you to honor the ancestors of our various peoples, nations, tribes, and families whose struggles for justice on this land inspire us. So I am filled today with such hope and optimism about this, our 148th academic year. Despite the uncertainties that unfortunately still exist, we also know that no matter what, we will be able to get through anything so long as we do it together. And we know this because we have done it over the past over 18 months and because we are still doing it. Now, many of us are experiencing a host of different emotions right now. I know that I am, including excitement, fear, confidence, nervousness, and hope. And I'm sure many of you are asking questions such as, what will this year bring? Will we be able to remain in person? What will my classes be like? How will I cope with the uncertainty of the pandemic? And what will I accomplish this year? I don't have the answers to all of these questions. No one does. However, here's what I do know. At Colorado College, we are tough, we are resilient, and we are empathetic. And I know this not only because of our history, but also because what all of you have demonstrated and what all of us have demonstrated to ourselves throughout our history, throughout this time, and today. So a little over 50 years ago, our community came together and created what became known as the Block Plan. And when I say we came together as a community, I mean it. The creation of the Block Plan would not have happened if it didn't involve all of you, students, staff, and faculty. So I want us to remember that as we navigate this year. We are all vital to our mission of providing the finest liberal arts education in the country. We need all of us to do that. And this year, I will ask all of us, staff, students, faculty, to come together once again, to dream big and to dare to imagine how we can become even better, even stronger, and an even more inclusive community. So since I've arrived at CC, I have learned that we are a community that dares to ask, why not? And then to accomplish what others think is impossible. Just think of what we've been able to already do together. No other school was able to pull off the Block Plan before we did. No other school has our anti-racism commitment and the true commitment to it. No other school in the Rocky Mountain region achieved carbon neutrality before we did. So we've accomplished all of this and so much more because of our courage to think differently and to ask why not. And I can't think of a time that is more important than this one to ask that question. So let's do that this year. Why don't we come together as a community and ask, how can we do what we do better? And it will take courage to ask this question of ourselves, but CC is a courageous place. Last year, our students came together to ask, why not determine how to help each other? And then they created mutual aid. Last academic year, our staff and faculty came together to ask, why not figure out how to create the best virtual experiences for our entire community? And then they did it. And then we asked, why not continue to provide impactful teaching and learning for our students despite the ravages of COVID? And then we did. None of this was easy. It was exhausting. It was at times demoralizing. But you know what? Our community has courage. We have resilience, and we have never done the easy thing. And that's why I am so confident and so optimistic that no matter what this year may bring, we will be able to handle it. Because we will do it together. Because we will do it while supporting each other, and because we will have the courage to dream big. Nothing will defeat us. That is what I have learned about this remarkable community. So I am looking forward to an incredible year together. Let's dare to dream, let's dare to hope, let's dare to imagine how we can do what we do better. Let's have the courage to fail. Let's have the courage to speak. Let's have the courage to listen. Let's have the courage to get comfortable with getting uncomfortable. And I know we will do all this because this is truly a remarkable community. And so I'm thrilled to be a part of it and to continue to learn, explore, and grow together. The remarkable alumni who we recognize today, Nancy Hernandez, Cowie Hart Hemmings, and Jeremy Jepson. They have each excelled in their lives and in their professions and are making a difference in the world because they embody our CC spirit. They exemplify what comes from the finest liberal arts education, which is opportunity, ingenuity, and the desire to create a better world. So I hope that you'll learn more about them and consider the ways in which you might also accomplish your dreams. And now it is my honor and pleasure to introduce this year's CC Student Government Association President, Dexios Damtu. I'm going to introduce him and say a few words first, Dexios. You're not getting away that easily. So let me just tell you something about our remarkable CCSGA president. So Dexios is from Denver. He's an international political economy major, and he's captain of the speech and debate team. Yes, that's right. And I hear he's coming to law school, or he's going to go to law school, which I'm so happy about. But anyway, okay, I digress. So last year, Dexios and fellow CC senior Ben Gelman won a Davis Projects for Peace Award for their project titled, quote, Cultivating Youth Advocacy, Civics Education in Colorado. And as they said in their proposal, a strong civics education helps students understand public issues, helps them see political engagement as a means of addressing communal challenges, and helps them participate in civic activities. They also noted in their project that civics education has been systematically eliminated since federal and state funding has decreased. They argued that students with inadequate civics education are less likely to participate in community service, face higher dropout rates, and are less likely to engage in the democratic process. Both Dexios and Ben spent this summer conducting workshops with urban and rural Colorado students focusing on one of the three branches of government, legislative, executive, and judicial. Students were tasked with creating a policy proposal to address a social issue such as poverty, homelessness, or climate change, and these students received guidance in crafting their proposals. The students shared their ideas with each other, and Dexios and Ben worked with them to finalize and present their proposals to Colorado legislators. Dexios is a student leader who cares deeply about an engaged citizen and encouraging young people to find their voice. As student government president, he wants to promote accessibility to reliable healthcare for all students, develop structures of accountability for anti-racism within CCSGA, and encourage transparency between the administration and students. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to CCSGA President Dexios Damtu.
Good morning, Colorado College students, staff, and faculty. I would like to begin by thanking President Richardson for that amazing introduction, as well as that very important land acknowledgement. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to the 2021-2022 academic school year. As I look around me, I see familiar faces, from faculty that I've had the pleasure to take classes with, students who I've gotten to know in academic and social settings, to the incredibly driven staff that truly hold this school together. For those of you who are joining our campus community for the first time, to those of you who have only had the opportunity to engage with us virtually, I see an opportunity to learn from so many new perspectives that this campus has yet to see. As we embark on a new journey together, and with in-person class resuming for the first time since the onset of the pandemic, I am eager to get back to some of my favorite activities. I can't wait to play pickup soccer, see friends I haven't seen since my sophomore year, and to engage in enriching class discussions that drew me to this school in the first place. However, what I am most excited for is grabbing a random cup of coffee with a professor, a staff member, or a friend. I love coffee, not only because it has given me the energy to survive fourth week, but the tie it has to my culture and my identity. As my mother never fails to remind me, one of my favorite activities as a kid was to go from house to house in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, hearing my neighbors' continuous stories as they brewed bunna, the Ethiopian word for coffee. In Ethiopia, having bunna with someone consists of two steps. First, the skillful and somewhat tedious process of making the coffee from scratch. And second, sharing life and commiserating, kick-started by steaming caffeine, still the best conversation starter. The warmth of being enveloped by Ethiopian music, family, friends, and most importantly, bunna, forged my sense of community. My safety was a given. When the events of the past year and a half unfolded, I, along with all of us in many ways, have had our sense of safety rattled. A global pandemic, environmental disasters as a result of global warming, acts of domestic terrorism by white nationalists, and the current humanitarian crisis we are watching unfold in Afghanistan. It is human to be left feeling uncertain and to grieve. In the midst of these challenges, we've heard the message over and over again, that we have to come together in community to support one another. However, coming together isn't that simple, because a sense of community is not a given. When my parents moved our family to Denver, Colorado, my sense of community was completely changed. I could no longer roam comfortably from house to house. There was a curfew. I could never be by myself, and I was taught a hypervigilant awareness that I would be viewed as the other as a black man in America. What I learned from an Ethiopian culture of brewing bunna is that safety is not a given. It is a privilege to enter a space and to not have to worry about harm because of your identity. So the question then is, what do we do about it? Dismantling complex systems begins one step at a time. CC has taken the first step in the anti-racism initiative, acknowledging a culture of deep-seated anti-blackness at this college, as well as taking concrete actions to change policies and structures that are actively racist. In 2020, CC students formed the Collective for Anti-Racism and Liberation to convey the need for safety on our campus and in our community. That was step 2. This year, I challenge you to listen without the intent to respond, to learn from each other, and most importantly, understand that the work that we are doing to become an anti-racist institution requires a commitment to not only look towards how others uphold systems of power, but to look within ourselves to see how we uphold racism too. Hold each other accountable for the ways we treat each other. By addressing racist, homophobic, sexist, or ableist comments, we can be in step with improving our community and acknowledging our errors with humility over defiance. We become the change. For those of us who have marginalized identities, we must do the work to acknowledge the parts of our identity that are privileged. As self-described Black lesbian mother warrior poet Audre Lorde puts it, somewhere on the edge of consciousness, there is what I call a mythical norm, which each one of us within our hearts knows that is not me. In America, this norm is defined as white, thin, male, young, heterosexual, Christian, and financially secure. It is with this mythical norm that the trappings of power reside within society. Those of us who stand outside that power often identify one way in which we are different, and we assume that to be the primary cause of all oppression, forgetting other distortions around difference, some of which we ourselves may be practicing. For me, as a Black man in America, it is important to acknowledge the privilege I have as a straight cis male, my education, the platform I am given, and the role I play in systems of power. When I came to CC, I met people here who challenged me to embrace and stand with my differences and to push back against power structures that inhibited discomfort, vital for growth. When I look around at CC, I see a network of support. Professors who challenge us and are willing to serve as our mentors, staff members who are willing to guide us through career opportunities, and resources that provide mental, emotional, and social support. I see my friends from across the world, from Austria to Zambia. CC is becoming a place where I can speak more openly about my identity, where trust is forged through differences and mutual respect, and where peers seek to understand. This year, it will be very easy to focus on all the time we missed out on. It will be easy to try to cram everything we lost into the year from social events, classes, and our commitment to anti-racism. However, I encourage you this year to remember your first step in making Bunna. It is a process, not without stumbles, and one that will take time. Give yourselves up to learn and grow this year. The pace of the block plan is faster than any environment for radical change that inspires me every day on this campus. The block is innovative. Stay awake. Set aside distractions and then slow down during breaks. Look at the mountains, grab a coffee with a newfound friend whose camaraderie was forged through fourth week late nights. Sleep, then go out, venture forth. Unapologetically push for change. Our sense of shared dignity is at stake. Grab that cup of coffee, and if coffee isn't your cup of tea, then discover what is.
Thank you so much, Dexios, for those incredible words to live by. And we should all be proud of the fact that you are a student educated here at CC. And on that note, as I look out at our faculty sitting here in front of us, I would love for all of you and our administrators and our staff to please stand up. Can we all just thank our staff, our administrators, and our faculty once again, please, everyone in the back. Thank you so much. Okay, you may be seated. I feel like a judge. You may be seated. And now I would like to welcome Professor John Riker. And I would like to welcome our honorary degree recipient, Nancy Hernandez, to stand in the middle. Thank you.
Dr. Nancy Hernandez has devoted her exceptional intelligence, compassionate heart, and courageous personhood to helping Hispanic students in the Southwest region get prepared for and enter college. Working tirelessly for nonprofit agencies confronting discriminatory practices, and helping CC with admitting and retaining students of color and first-generation students. She has had a stunningly heroic journey, having gone from being a terrified first-generation student, very unsure that she was meant to be in college, to graduating cum laude in philosophy and then completing a PhD in educational leadership, research, and policy. Now, after 16 years working in the educational and nonprofit sector, Nancy has become the director of the Pre-Collegiate Support and Success Center at UCCS. Nancy's coming to Colorado College from her Hispanic home in El Paso could not have been more of a shock than had she landed in the strangest of foreign worlds. She was intensely ambivalent about being at CC, for she was drawn to both the profound traditional values of her Hispanic community and the liberating but abstract values of middle-class America that she found at CC. Rather than suffering silently about her ambivalence of whether to stay at college or return home, she talked with her professors with such vivacity, honesty, and turmoil about her dilemma that I, for one, was drawn out of my secure white middle-class assumptions about life and became aware of how important and valuable are the different ways we can inhabit our humanity. No student has educated me more than Nancy, whose life is a testament to how dealing with such deep cultural tensions can lead to a brilliant life of caring and concern for underprivileged populations. She has changed many lives, including mine, and I am forever grateful to her. Madam President, I present Nancy Hernandez for the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
And by action of a committee of faculty and the trustees, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you, Dr. Nancy Hernandez, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and admit you to all rights and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. And as a token of this honor, I ask that you be vested with the hood appropriate to the degree, and I present to you this diploma. I would now like to welcome to the stage Professor Stephen Haywood.
Cowie Hart Hemmings is the New York Times best-selling author of 6 books, including The Descendants, which has been published in 22 other countries and is also an Oscar-winning film starring George Clooney. At Colorado College, she was an English major. Then after a year living in Breckenridge, she went on to Sarah Lawrence for her MFA, followed by Stanford, where she was a Stegner Fellow. Cowie is an immersive, heartbreaking, often hilarious writer. If one were to look for a theme that unites her work, a kind of thread knitting her early short fiction to her celebrated debut novel through to her second novel, The Possibilities, which is about a mother dealing with the unexpected, inexpressible grief of losing a child, through to her YA novel, Juniors, and to her most recent, How to Party with an Infant, that theme would be family. In an essay in which she poses to herself the question of why she writes about families, she responds in this way: I write about families to create meaning where there is none. It's sort of like making your own clothes. You can pick the pattern, the fabric, cut it and stitch it to fit. No matter what materials you use, at the end, it will come together. She goes on, I write about families because I was told I could be a doctor, and I am not afraid of blood and sadness. President Richardson, I present in absentia Cowie Hart Hemmings for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
And by action of a committee of faculty and the trustees, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon Cowie Hart Hemmings the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and admit her to all rights and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. And as a token of this honor, I will ask that she be vested with the hood appropriate to the degree, and she will be presented with this diploma.
Hi, Cowie.
Thank you. And now I would like to welcome to the front Senior Vice President and Chief of Staff Mike Edmonds and Jeremy Jepson.
When thinking about Jeremy Jepson, 2 things come to mind: Disney and social responsibility. The world is in a very interesting phase as we continue to battle COVID. Organizations across the country have to ask themselves what the best way is to protect their employees and their customers. At Disney, Jeremy is someone who takes these questions seriously. But it is bigger than just COVID. How do you ensure the safety and positive experience for customers at the largest and the most famous theme parks in the world? How do you create a fun environment while balancing both corporate and civic responsibility? How do you create the happiest place on earth while keeping in mind the larger social responsibilities that we face as a society? To quote Childish Gambino, being happy is the goal, but greatness is the vision. Jeremy's time at Colorado College in the Peace Corps and his experience with public policy and analysis put him in a position to carefully and wisely address just these questions. They have helped him ensure that his work reflects not only his value, but produces both happiness and greatness. Considering the whole person, the whole perspective, and the whole experience is the hallmark of a liberal arts education. And Jeremy has ensured that these values are expressed in a way that is fresh, modern, and relevant. Jeremy's ability to turn these values into real-world practice that brings smiles to so many people across the world is simply noteworthy. President Richardson, I am honored to present Jeremy Jepson for the degree of Doctor Humane Letters, honoris causa.
And by action of a committee of faculty and trustees, and by virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon you, Jeremy Jepson, the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, and admit you to all the rights and responsibilities pertaining to this degree. And as a token of this honor, I ask that you be vested with the hood appropriate to the degree, and I present you with this diploma. And now, and please stay, I am now pleased to invite Jeremy Jepson to give the keynote speech, Stumbling Towards Intentionality.
Just like a good wedding, you always have to drop something or something has to go wrong to start it off. I want to thank you and tell you good morning. It's a pleasure and honor for me to join you this morning, standing before a live audience instead of sitting in front of a computer screen. A rare and welcome occurrence since the COVID pandemic rocked our world and changed everything last year. That makes my return to campus all the sweeter. And I'm very grateful to President Richardson, the Colorado College Board of Trustees, and former co-presidents Edmonds and Moore for giving me this opportunity. As you may know, Colorado College was founded in 1874. 3 years after the city of Colorado Springs, and 2 years before Colorado became a state. A total of 25 students were enrolled in that first class, 13 men and 12 women. A gender balance virtually unheard of at that time. And now, here we are, 148 academic years later, on the cusp of saying goodbye to the class of 2022 and welcoming in the class of 2025. You first-year students arrive with a solid foundation on which to build your college experience. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at an institution of this caliber, a place you will find has multiple avenues for learning and leadership, for building connections and bridges to the future. Now, I'm very proud to tell people that I'm a graduate of Colorado College, as I'm sure you students will be too. You've already accomplished a lot by getting this far, but you haven't done it alone. Your parents, siblings, relatives, coaches, teachers, mentors, and others all figure into your success one way or another. I came to this realization after I got some age and experience on me after college. My family was an enormous help in making my dream of attending CC a reality. I'd be remiss not to mention their support and sacrifice. That includes my mother, father, and sister, some of whom I'm happy to say are in the audience today. Now, every convocation ceremony is significant, but I hate to tell you, this one is really special. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the speaker. I say that because this occasion marks a turning point for the school in a number of ways. First is President Richardson's first convocation, signaling an exciting new chapter for her and the school going forward. We wish her the best as CC's 14th president. Second, we are reminded of the exceptional leadership of former co-presidents Edmonds and Moore, who worked together to steer CC during one of the most difficult and challenging times in the school's history, which included the COVID-19 pandemic and the racial awakening and social justice movement that swept the nation. We owe them our thanks and gratitude for a job well done. On a more personal level, this convocation represents coming full circle for me. I'm embarrassed to say, but 25 years ago, I sat in those very seats that you're sitting in now, listening to the convocation speaker. And I hate to admit it, but I don't recall any of the pearls of wisdom that were uttered that day. I was too busy thinking about when I'd see the friends I'd made the previous year, if I was missing any books for that first block, and how I would navigate CC after literally having an identity crisis earlier in the year. That last point, I'll get to that in a minute. In hindsight, I was drawn to CC by two things: the block plan and the opportunity to play on the Tiger soccer team. In reverse order, I might add. Regrettably, I thought of myself as a soccer player first and a scholar second. Well, as we all know, even the best laid plans can go very wrong. Within the first month of being on campus, I tore my ACL and my MCL, with a second ACL tear not far behind. The experience forced me to rethink who I was and what I wanted to be. But first and foremost, I was crushed. As David James Duncan wrote in his book, The Brothers K, I started having doubts right on top of my certainty. In my case, doubts about being here at CC. By the second block of year 2, I was seriously rethinking the whole college thing. I decided I needed a break, and not just a block break, but a hard break from Colorado College. My new plan was to travel the world, buy a one-way ticket with the little money I'd saved up at that point. It was about that time that Mike Edmonds came into my life. Looking back, it was my good fortune that CC requires you to meet with the Dean of Students before you can drop out. I'll never forget walking across this very quad from my dorm room in Matthias over to Mike's office over here to have that meeting. To be honest, I didn't want to go. In fact, I hated the idea. I resented it. My mind was already made up at that point. Little did I know, though, that my meeting with Mike would be a game changer and the beginning of a lifelong friendship. Mike convinced me that day to stay in school. He told me that the travel adventures I was seeking would still be available to me after graduation, that the soul searching I was going through could be best experienced right here at CC. And you know what? He was absolutely right. For that bit of wisdom and for not giving up on me, I'm eternally grateful. During that time, I went through an intensive period of self-evaluation. I knew I had to reinvent myself and adjust my expectations for my new circumstances. I also realized I didn't have to travel halfway around the world to find myself. I took advantage of the great liberal arts education that CC offers and enrolled in as many courses as I could outside of my majors, which were political science and environmental science. I took things like sculpting, acting, and film, and in the process met some really amazing people, classmates who became treasured friends. In retrospect, the experience taught me the importance and value of encountering human differences and benefiting from them. Other people are vital resources for our intellectual and emotional growth. In short, my friends taught me not to be afraid of difference. I learned to be open to it, to explore it, and learn from it. I'm convinced that the more we can understand and embrace the diversity of human beings and their various points of view, the better prepared we will be to care for and improve the world that we all share. That's one reason I feel so lucky to have lived in the Jackson House, just a couple stones throw away from here on Nevada. At that time, CC had theme houses that were chosen based on applications students submitted for how to enrich the college experience. A few of my classmates, some of whom are my closest friends today, were wise enough to understand the importance of discussion. They applied and were allowed to turn the Jackson House into the Dialectic House, a dorm whose purpose was to promote conversation and dialogue on campus. My time in the Dialectic House was incredibly instructive. It forced me to flesh out my opinion on the many issues that we discussed and to consider other perspectives as well. We traveled a few miles north of here to focus on the family headquarters to discuss religious differences. We hosted a debate on whether CC should be an alcohol-free campus, an event that drew what seemed like most of the student body. And we had countless conversations on issues that are uncomfortable to discuss, but that have helped shape me. Topics like gender equity, chauvinism, and stereotyping, to name a few. In the process, I became more thoughtful and a better listener, and a better person too, I believe. I came to appreciate the significance of exchanging ideas and viewpoints with others as a means of building community and mutual understanding. Valuable qualities that are all too scarce in the fragmented, polarized world that we live in today. The point I want to drive home to you is this. I stumbled and fell on the path that I was initially on here at CC. But I got up, dusted myself off, and found a new path. With a little help from my friends and a willingness to be intentional about my choices and not shy away from hard conversations. I'm willing to bet that some point along the way, whether here at CC or in your future career, and possibly both, you too will experience a setback. And that's okay. It's pretty much a given in our earthly existence. The key is to regain your balance, learn from your experience, and to chart a new course for yourself. Now, I used the word intentional a minute ago, and I'd like to spend the rest of my time explaining what I mean by that. I believe it's the heart and soul of finding success and satisfaction in life. I titled my remarks today, Stumbling Toward Intentionality, because that's typically the way we achieve where we get to where we're going. Very few people achieve their goals by moving in a straight line. Most of us, we have to zigzag and bounce around. But how straight a path you walk is not the point. What is important is that as a result of stumbling and falling, you grow in self-awareness and figure out who you are and what it is that's important to you, what your values are. It's not easy, however. As the late author Larry McMurtry wrote in his book Lonesome Dove, the hardest thing on earth is choosing what matters. McMurtry understood that once you know what matters, it becomes your North Star, the guiding light of your life. When you're able to clarify what it is that matters most to you, what your values are, you've taken the first step in living with intention and moving towards what you want instead of moving away from what you don't want. I'm going to repeat that last line because I find it so critical. Living with intention allows you to move towards what you want instead of moving away from what you don't want. The distinction is so, so important. For example, during my senior year here at CC, I applied to the Peace Corps. The research I had done told me it would provide the adventure I'd been craving, and the organization's mission aligned with what I cared about: service to others and making a meaningful impact. A few months after applying, I received my acceptance letter from the Peace Corps. I was assigned to St. Vincent, a small island in the Eastern Caribbean. During my 2 years there, I gained a lot of insight into the ways the business community interacts with society, shaping it and being shaped by it. It was fascinating to me, and I vowed to pursue a career that would allow me to explore the interplay between society and business. I was also very intentional in thinking, reading, and talking to other Peace Corps volunteers and residents of St. Vincent about their chosen paths and their views about the world, which often challenged my own. There was Vani, who left her big city job in London to raise her kids on island time and help preserve her Caribbean culture. A fellow Peace Corps volunteer, Cassius, who at the age of 26 had already been a community organizer, a taxi driver, and an architect, and who was still seeking his calling. Smalls, a co-worker of mine in the government ministry where I was assigned, and a self-proclaimed socialist who challenged my views on capitalism and in private business. And most importantly, I met a truly remarkable and life-changing person named Sarah, who ended up becoming my wife. You see, that's the amazing thing about being intentional. It can lead to unexpected and wonderful rewards. The fact is, my Peace Corps experience served as a stepping stone toward my chosen career path, a field that goes by names such as corporate social responsibility, CSR, or the latest term, ESG. In a nutshell, my work amounts to identifying and addressing gaps between a company's business practices, its policies, operations, and programs in the community, for example, and the ever-changing expectations of society, government, and consumers. I truly love the work that I do. A lot like being a student at CC, I'm required to quickly learn and form an opinion on a huge range of issues, and no 2 days are ever the same, especially these days. For instance, one day I could be focused on an industry approach to COVID, and the next day working on a responsible food strategy. Or in the morning, I might be analyzing changes to a UN human rights policy, only to shift in the afternoon to help design a workforce development program for the community. And just like my days in the Jackson House, a critical element of what I focus on is dialogue. A large part of my work involves interacting with external groups, some of which are my company's most fervent critics, in order to help inform our decision-making on what are very complex and challenging topics. It's exciting and demanding work, and it gives me the opportunity to fulfill one of my main goals: to work in a field where I can have a tangible impact on society. I got to this place in my life with a combination of luck and persistence. You too can find the place you want to go, wherever that may be. Start by practicing intentionality. Know who you are and what you believe. Make choices based on your values. And don't be afraid to stumble. It's all part of the dance of self-discovery. Colorado College is the perfect place to engage in this kind of exploration. It's also the perfect time in your life to do it. You can have opportunities here like you've never had before, opportunities to learn and grow in ways you can't even imagine. My parting advice is this: be prepared to walk through doors when they open for you, or when you open them for yourself. That's being intentional and purposeful in the way that you live your life. Carpe diem. Seize the day. It's a phrase you may have heard before. It's a phrase I first learned from my Latin high school teacher and popularized in the movie Dead Poet Society. Carpe diem. It's a phrase you may want to carry with you in your head and in your heart. Say it to yourself every day. Remember that time is like a rolling stream. It is fast and fleeting. And once you've lost it, you can't get it back. I wish you all much success and satisfaction. Enjoy your time at this great school, but don't waste it. Carpe diem. Thank you and have a great year.
As we leave this place, may we hold on to the invitation of this new year, embracing our love of learning, finding joy in our friendships, and awakening to wonder in our reflections as we discover new ways and places of flexibility. And in the challenging times, when we are tired and frustrated, impatient and anxious, disillusioned and heartbroken, may we have the courage, the strength to be present with ourselves, each other, and communities with compassion and empathy, honesty and truth-telling as we live into our communal values and commitment to what is just and life-giving. And may we find ways to stay grounded and to rest, knowing and remembering that we are all in this together. May it be so.